All right. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Jomo Stewart and Mr. Jim Dotson, President Jim Dotson, here at the FEDC boardroom. It is Tuesday, March 16th, the Energy for Alaska Task Force meeting. And our guest this morning is Mr. John Burns, President John Burns, President and CEO of the Golden Valley Electric Cooperative, here to give us an update, our spring update for GVEA. So with no further ado, I'll just go ahead and hand it over. President Burns.
Right, Jomo, thank you, Jim Dotson, and it's nice to be amongst acquaintances that you've known for a lot of years. I don't see everybody's picture up there, but I recognize most of the names. So really appreciate the opportunity, Jomo, to give you an update. Call it kind of the state of the state for GVEA. It's an auspicious year for Golden Valley. As this first slide indicates, it's 75th anniversary for Golden Valley. Formed in 1946, we celebrate 75 years. And I'm hopeful, like I think it was Jim Dotson who said, it'll be nice when we can all get together and, appropriately celebrate the 75 years, because as the saying goes, we've really come a long way. My name is John Burns. I've had the pleasure of and privilege of being GVEA CEO for the last approximately a year now. And, I say it's a privilege from the standpoint, we've got some great employees, wonderful board. I see Gary Newman, one of our board members is present. And, the beauty of Golden Valley, it's a cooperative. It's a not-for-profit cooperative. It's members serving members. That's the principles of Golden Valley, and what we do matters every day. So this is a picture. First, let me introduce Meadow Bailey. Meadow is our communications director. She joined us. Boy, it's been what now, Meadow? 8 months, thereabout.
Yep.
So
quick, yeah, just about.
It's been a quick several months, but she's done a phenomenal job. And, that's a major part of our focus at Golden Valley is, it's members serving members. Okay. All of you are members of this organization. So it's critically important that the lines of communication be maintained and, that they be very robust from the standpoint of, we want to hear from you, and it's very important that you hear from us. Things change on a rapid basis. We do quarterly COPAs, the cost of power adjustments, things that we do really do affect all of you. And so it's important that communication be there. So this first slide is, a picture of 6 of the original 9 incorporators. In 1946, these were visionaries. These individuals saw what the power of electricity to improve lives and to improve the economic future of Golden Valley. So 1972, 6 of the original 9 were honored, and as I say, they were definitely visionaries. Moving on to the next slide. These are what we call the cooperative principles. Most cooperatives, certainly utility cooperatives, are formed based on these 7 cooperative principles, and they are they're the guideposts on which Golden Valley makes its decisions. It's an open and voluntary membership, democratic controlled board. Every year we have board members who are up for election. We have a rotating. We've got 7-member board. We've got two board members who are up for election this year. And although they are elected by districts, they represent the entirety of Golden Valley's membership. So, they're not beholden to any factions. Golden Valley doesn't operate with factions. We represent, Golden Valley serves, and its board of directors represents the entirety of its membership. And so the decisions that are being made by Golden Valley's board and the operations of Golden Valley staff are focused on just that, which are the best interests of Golden Valley as a whole. Moving on to the next slide. This is the first power plant, the FE power plant that we purchased in 1952. I think at the time was 2 megawatts on Illinois Street. So that's the origin. So now let's briefly talk about the difference where we were and where we are today. So in 1946, 101 members. Okay, more than 36,000 today. This is going back, Meadow. This is an example of the annual meeting that we used to have. This was 2019 when we had it in the Shabel or at Lathrop Auditorium. We're hoping to get there again. 2020 we had a virtual. 2021 will be virtual as well. But we hope soon to continue to have these gatherings, because they're important to to put the names with the faces, and for people to be able to congregate and hear the messages at the annual report.
As a bit of an aside, John.
Yeah.
I did get to go. I went to one of the membership meetings. It was at the Carlson Center several years back. And as an old poli-sci student, I finally got to see what the Athenian democracy must have looked like. It was quite the experience.
Yeah, but it's great. It's because Golden Valley it's formed by members, it's owned by our members, it's operated by members, and so it's important to hear the voice of the members, and you get that during those annual meetings. So. And this is a snapshot of some of our employees. First one was hired in 1948. Meadow, do you recall what the hourly wage was at that point? I think it was two something.
It was 226 is what comes to mind.
Yeah, so that's what we paid the first employee, and it was an accountant. And we have 282 employees now, and that's as far as that includes temporary and part-time, because we bring our right-of-way crew in, for about 6 months a year, and that'll start actually in towards the end of March. The next slide is a picture of our generation. So you saw the first one that we purchased from the FE. This is our current generation portfolio. And when I say generation, this is what we at Golden Valley are producing. And so starting from the top left and going clockwise is Bradley Lake. Golden Valley owns 17% of Bradley Lake. It's operated by Homer. We own about 16.9%. We get about 60,000 megawatts. It's one of our cheapest. Okay, as far as the cost, it's about $66 a megawatt. The next one, Healy 1 and 2. Healy 1 is the smaller one in the foreground. Healy 2 is the larger one in the background. It's Healy 1. When we talk about the operating costs, the all-in costs, when we talk per megawatt, it's the all-in cost. So it's the cost of power, and it's the utility charge, the cost of operating. That's about 113 per megawatt. Healy 2, understandably, is more because it's not nearly as depreciated as Healy 1. It's 214 megawatt hour. We've got Eva Creek, which is the largest wind farm in Alaska currently. It runs the capacity has been very good. Since its inception. Mike Kraft, who's also on, has got a wind farm in Delta, and he can tell you that the numbers there have been just this past year have been phenomenal. We've been very benefited by the wind regime. Eva Creek runs us about 114 a megawatt, and that's without regulation. Then we've got the North Pole combined cycle. That's 146, and we are very benefited. I see Doug Chapados is on here. The relationship that we have with Petrostar is phenomenal from the standpoint that they supply us all of our fuel needs. We've got the refinery right there, and I hope Doug feels the same. It's been a great synergistic relationship, and it's just having that refinery right there and having the relationship that we've got with the refinery, so that they know our needs has been greatly beneficial. The next is the solar farm. It's a 0.5 megawatt. It's was for a very brief period of time the largest in the state. It's the second largest currently, soon to be eclipsed. There are a number of private entities that are building much larger wind farms. Solar farms. That runs about $96 a megawatt. And then we got the Delta. This is one that it's an emergency backup. And the reason for that is it's when we operate it, it costs us about $943 to operate it. Okay, because we rarely operate it. Okay, it's a backup. It's it's just there in the event of an emergency. North Pole, we've got 2 units there. The North Pole, 60 megawatts each. When we're burning that, which is again, it's backup. It's in North Pole. It runs about $269 a megawatt, and then you've got the Zender plant, which is right behind Golden Valley, and that's $405. So you can see we've got a major, very large diversity of generation. Much of it is very old. You can just see, the Zender plants, the Delta plant, Healy 1, very old. And that's one of the big decisions that Golden Valley's board is having to address in the very near future, and that is what is our generation portfolio going to look like in the future? And so, those are legacy decisions because the cost of operating these are very different, but it's critically important that we have it for all of you who have lived in Fairbanks a long time. You understand that in the dead of winter, when you need it, it's got to be there. And so we try not to run the backup units because we're trying to always to do economic dispatch to operate as efficiently as possible. The next slide is to just
Actually,
snap. Yeah,
John,
go ahead.
before you leave this slide, regarding the North Pole plant,
I'm sorry?
regarding the North Pole combined cycle,
Yeah.
do you do anything with the waste heat?
Yeah, we don't, it's not called, it's waste heat from the standpoint that's on the steam side of it. And that's what we call free energy. Okay, and that's why we try to dispatch North Pole and run it at maximally, with the maximum efficiency as possible to make sure that we get the benefit of the steam heat on the back end of that. And so that's why, North Pole is, that's a huge positive benefit to it. And we are currently permitted for a second LM6000. That would that basically joined, be built right on essentially the same footprint as the existing North Pole. So it's permitted. It's the ground is there to site it. It's just one of those one of the decisions that need to be made in the future as to what will the generation look like. That's certainly an option because we are also facing a decision on Healy 1 in the form of our consent decree with the EPA. We have to make a decision by 2022, December 31, 2022, as to whether we are going to put an SCR on this, for environmental emissions, put an SCR on Unit 1 or close it out. And that decision has to be made December 31, 2022, and fully implemented by December 31 of 2024. So it's 28 megawatts operationally. It's 25, 26 megawatts. So that's a big impact, and it's a big impact because it is one of our cheapest units to run. It's $113 a megawatt. The next slide is a snapshot of Healy 1 and 2 for a period of February 8th to March 10th of 2021. So you can see the top part is the capacity factor. how efficiently the plants are running. And so you can see unit 1 came slowly down for a planned maintenance. You can see it on starting the 15th, and it's back up, ramping up on the 25th. So you can see how the capacity factor dips. And during the same period of time, Healy 2, the dip in Healy 2 is from an operational perspective. For example, when the conveyor has an issue, or the slag drag, it's getting rid of the slag ash. And so it's, we're trying to, we ideally are trying to operate it at above the 80% or above, and you can see that the hiccups. There's one planned capital project for Healy 2, which we hope is the last capital project that we have to implement in order to get Healy 2 operating on a consistent basis above the 80%, and that's what we call the flue gas desulfurizer. That'll go on this spring. It's about a 4 to 6 month project, and we hope at that point that the operational efficiency of Healy 2 will be very, very steady, because that's about our 3rd or 4th lowest source of heat. And it's high now because not a lot of it has been depreciated. It's a fairly new plant, and so as it depreciates over time, the cost per megawatt goes down. And the lower graph just shows the BTU per pound on the coal, and so the optimum is about 7,200, because 7,200 or slightly above, because that's the most efficient for us as far as cost benefit. And it's been 72 to 74 is that range for us. And so again, just like we've got a great relationship with Petrostar, the same thing with Usabelli. To have mine mouth coal available and stockpiled, and in the winter time, we ask for higher quality and BTU content, and man, they're able to deliver it. It's remarkable. I mean, they can, if you wanted it at 75, 76, they can get it to you. And having that relationship has also been very beneficial to Golden Valley's members. The next slide is reflective of our carbon reduction pledge. I mean, Golden Valley understands our responsibility, as fiduciary responsibility to the environment, and the board has had a couple of previous pledges, environmental pledges, that they've been very successful in meeting. In 2019, the board got together, and there were community participants as well, and it came up with this is the current carbon reduction pledge. By January 2021, or on January 21, they adopted the pledge to reduce the carbon reduction goal 26% by 2030. Okay, and I see Brian Rogers on as well here, and Brian's group, ACEP, Alaska Center for Energy and Power, was commissioned to help Golden Valley to identify, how do we do this, and what are the options. They put together their final report, I believe was October 5th of 2020, did a couple presentations to the board. That report is available on the web, Golden Valley's web. And I think, and Brian can, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no silver bullet. There's nothing that Golden Valley can do that, even short of shutting down its coal plants and, not purchasing from Aurora. It's, there's no silver bullet that will achieve it. But it is something that's in the forefront of Golden Valley's board's, view, because this is something that they are committed to constantly evaluating. And so as we move forward in the decision on generation, okay, that these, this goal is there as well. So it's not just making a determination that we're going to just put the cheapest on. It's balancing all of these equations. So, Ryan's, it's a great report, and certainly something I would urge everybody to look up. As I said, it is on our web. Next slide really is, this is Golden Valley's mission. It has been for, essentially in this form since inception. The board, regularly evaluates it, as every good board should. And I think it's worth reviewing, because it's Golden Valley recognizes the its importance to the economic, environmental, and social viability of the community. Okay, and that's important because we know that we are an economic driver. Okay, we know that we've got environmental responsibilities and the social viability. That's the beauty of this cooperative, is that what we do really has a direct impact. And so our mission is to safely provide our member owners with reliable electric service, quality customer service, and innovative energy solutions at fair and reasonable prices. That drives every decision that the board makes, and embedded in that mission are 3 core principles. And there's not a meeting that goes by at Golden Valley that we do not talk about these 3 core principles. And they are, first, safety. It's the safety of our employees and our members. The second is that we are mission focused. Our employees understand what our mission is, and their responsibility to ensure that what they do advances that mission. And third is the fact that it's not our money. We are very cognizant of the fact that it's your money, it's our members' money. And so every decision that we make and everything that we do, we try to ensure that it is done as effectively and efficiently as possible. Because in the end, it's all of us who are members of Golden Valley who pay it. So, as I said, it's not, those 3 core principles are embedded in that mission. We also understand, that not only are we an economic, driver in the community, but we also have a responsibility to the community. And so these are examples of the community support. $97 million in capital credits returned to the community since it was first paid out in 1982. And that's because we're not for profit. The margins that we make, those quote unquote profits are repaid to members, in future years. 513,000 in scholarships to local students since 2002. 1.2 million in Good Sense grants. These are the roll up. You as members, all of us as members, who are who have opted in or not opted out of this. It's if your bill is $64.73, it's rolled up, okay, to 64. So that additional 27 cents gets added to this Good Sense grant the fund, and it's administered by a board member sits on it, but it's also many community individuals participate on the board and on the Good Sense program. And then United Way, the employees know how fortunate and benefited we are to be part of this organization and the importance of giving back. And so I'm really proud of this, because the fact that the last 2 years, I don't know where we stand in this just completed United Way year, but for the 2 prior years, we were top business contributor. And so that's employees putting forward, making contributions. Next slide. This has hit all of us. It's amazing to think that it's been a year now since COVID has hit. We in the legislature, first it was a governor's executive order, and then the legislature passed legislation that effectively prohibited disconnects for people who were suffering financial hardship as a result of COVID. And so Golden Valley, yeah, that disconnect moratorium has long expired. Okay, in November, we have continued that program. All right, and it's set to expire in March of, the end of March, March 31. But we've also, in addition to that, and so anybody who had signed the financial hardship form, they have no disconnects, okay, for the last 10 months. And I think it's 10 to 11 months. Once those farms are no longer accepted, those individuals we put on a payment plan that will spread their balance over the next 10 months. Okay, so it provides relief in that regard. We stand, I think currently it's almost $1 million in account receivable. Okay, that's the impact to Golden Valley's bottom line so far. Okay, we have an outstanding balance of approximately $1 million as a result of individuals have not paid their electric bill as a result of the moratorium. And so it's not likely that we will recoup all of it. We understand that there'll be no doubt a hit to the bottom line. But to assist others, those in need, Golden Valley formed what they called a benevolent fund, $250,000 of non-operating revenue. Okay, so it doesn't affect our members, but we formed $250,000. It's being administered by Love Inc. Because they've had no administrative fees and they've lots of experience associated with administering funds. So they're the ones who are doing the plain Solomon, essentially, accepting the application, screening the applications for need. And there's $250,000 that's available. I think currently it's there's been about $60,000 drawn against it for those people who are needing financial assistance to pay their electric bill. So that's another example of all of us, because you're part of that. You're part of Golden Valley. So Golden Valley's board, understands that the community support the importance of it.
John?
Yeah.
I had a question on essentially the delinquencies. How does the unrealized cash GVEA is carrying now compare to pre-pandemic years?
It's significant. It's probably three times the amount.
Okay.
So it's significant. We all understand this pandemic has had a hell of an impact on all of us economically. And, it's just one of those things we've been, very fortunate financially. We took some very, very draconian measures early on in anticipation of it. The first thing that I did when I stepped in, I made the very hard decision of, terminating several of the top, basically, senior management, because, it was important. We needed to get control of expenses, and we needed to do it in a way that did not impact our operational abilities. And so that was the first decision. And then, we reined in, projects that were slated to be done. And so as a result of it, Joe, I'm really proud of the fact that, Golden Valley has been able to weather that storm. We did not, impose rate increases, simplified rate. We're able to go to the RCA for a rate increase periodically to the extent that, financially we need it. We were able to make the cuts, do what we needed to do to address it. And as a result, for the last two cycles, and very likely this next cycle, for essentially 18 months, there has been no rate increase. All right, we've been able to, handle it, without having to seek a rate increase, because we know, it's not appropriate to be putting, our financial hurt on the backs of our members who are already, that's different than COPA. The cost of power is a pass-through. And so, with the price of fuel, with the, depending on operational efficiencies at the plants, that swings up and down periodically. And that's, fortunately not a lot that we can do to control that. So the next slide really talks about, we've shared a lot about where we were and where we are. And now let's talk about, kind of the future. In Golden Valley, this slide, what this slide represents is, the vision of Golden Valley. The top left is the GVEA battery, the battery system. The largest, when it was implemented, it was the largest in the world. Okay, batteries have come a heck of a long way. All right, so this is slated to, it needs to be updated. About an $8 million project just to give us what we already have. Okay, the controls need to be upgraded. One of the decisions that the board has to be making in this equation, from generation, because it's almost like the whack-a-mole game. If you hit something else pops up. So when you're making a decision on generation, you've got to factor in all of these things. How does a battery, if we upscale the battery, what's the cost of that? What's the impact of it? Because the battery will allow regulation of renewables. Okay, and so you've got all of these different issues moving around. The middle slide is a picture of our solar farm, and that's as I said at the time, that was the largest in the state. Very quickly eclipsed by the one in I think it's in Willow. But it's again, this is Golden Valley, embracing the future. And the bottom right is the Eva Creek Wind Farm, and it was right sized for Golden Valley, and it's been a great asset for Golden Valley's generation portfolio. So it just shows. I mean, this is a reflection of the fact that we are always looking to figure out ways to embrace opportunities as they come forward. And I will tell you that, as we look at the generation, we've had presentations from micronuke, the micronuclear plants. We've had presentations from Frank Richards, and his group, the Alaska gas line. We are always talking. I see Dan Britton on, IGU, discussions with IGU. We understand that we are a major player in the future of interior Alaska. And so, we take that very seriously, and we're trying to figure out ways, how do we do something that gives ancillary benefit to the rest of this community? I think all of us would love to see gas come into to interior Alaska. We've been talking about it for 40 years. Who knows what the crystal ball holds? But I can tell you the board is always looking at opportunities. So next slide, Madam. So, it's we can't, not like your businesses, we just can't stand, still. We've got to be constantly embracing the future, because, as we all know, the electric industry of today is not going to be the electric industry of tomorrow. Okay, things are radically changing, and much of it is for the better. But these are the things that we are looking at currently. The Battle Creek Diversion Dam, Golden Valley's buying into that. The board just authorized Golden Valley to buy into that. It's it diverts more water into the Bradley Lake, and so it'll increase Golden Valley's participation will increase by about 10%. So from 60,000 megawatts, it'll be another 6,000 megawatts that'll be added to it. The SQ power line purchase, the Soldotna, the Quartz. It's one thing to have Bradley Lake. Bradley Lake is phenomenal, but we've got to get it from Bradley Lake up into Fairbanks. And so the SQ was recently purchased from Homer, and Golden Valley participated in that through the Alaska Energy Authority. And ideally what will happen is that we will upsize this line, okay, so that we can get more of Bradley power into the system. up into Anchorage and then up from along the intertie into Fairbanks, because that's one of the big concerns that we currently have is the desire to get more of that renewable and cheaper energy up into Fairbanks. Railbelt Reliability Council, SB 123, Grier Hopkins, as well as Senator Coghill and Senator Diesel, very instrumental in putting together, what ultimately came to be SB 123. It's a Railbelt Reliability Council. My craft is a participant on the implementation committee, Lou Florence, myself. There are 12 participants, 6 utilities, and 6 non-utilities. And the whole focus of this, the Railbelt Reliability Council, is the realization that we can no longer be islands unto ourselves. We've got to be looking at the rail belt holistically, the entirety of the rail belt. So the decisions that are made need to be evaluated from the perspective of what's the impact to the rail belt as a whole. And so it's important that we maintain our ability to provide electricity to our members, but at the same time, the decisions that are made in Golden Valley's territory need to evaluate the impacts on the other rail belts. And so, there's the benefit of this. We are hopeful, is that we will get standardized reliability and interconnection protocols, which will allow more independent power producers to be, to enter into the system, knowing what they are getting into it, from one end to the next. Currently, if you come into Golden Valley system, you have to meet certain interconnection protocols. If you go into the other end, the Homer system, you've got to meet different interconnection protocols. And so, having a standardized set will, I think, will be of huge benefit. Also, the road belt intertie. Again, this is something that that's a limitation for Golden Valley, because you see the line in the background of this photo. That's how we get the power up from Anchorage. Okay, and that's a vulnerability. All right, because when that intertie is down, we have to be self-sufficient. And so, when you talk about a grid in the lower 48, there are multiple different paths by which electricity gets to a utility and then distributed. Here, what we don't generate comes up that line. And so for us to if we look at generation, future generation, we want to make sure we maximize this line. All right, because if we can, from the rail belt system, the entire rail belt system, if we can get energy cheaper up the intertie, okay, than we can to produce it, we owe that to our members to do that. All right, because in the bottom analysis, it's all about the bottom line to our members. But at the same time, we have to ensure that we can provide safe, reliable energy. And so, if it's 40 below and there's an issue with that intertie, you guys are not going to be happy. Just think of what happened in Texas. Okay, we don't ever want to see that repeated in Alaska. I'm very confident that it never will be. But those are concerns, and so having a redundant system to the road belt would be a huge benefit. And we are having conversation with DOE, Department of Energy, Department of Defense, because it's to their benefit as well to have a redundant system. Projects that Golden Valley are doing internally on bill financing. I see Jim Schwarber on the line. Jim's been a staunch advocate.
John.
Yeah.
John, before you move on, just for clarification of the record, when you talk about the road belt intertie,
yep.
Is this the proposal that had come forward by Rep. Talarico to go east?
Yep.
Okay, so that we would have power coming in from 2 directions.
That's correct.
East and southwest.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Just want to clarify.
And it would provide benefit to those communities as well. So, On-bill financing, this is many of the utilities in lower 48 provide grants or very low interest, long-term loans to members for energy efficiency projects. And so Golden Valley's, the member advisory committee is evaluating, what type of a pilot program Golden Valley should implement. They did an initial report, made some recommendations. The board sent it back to the MAC to expand on those recommendations, to look at some additional potential alternatives. And we're very optimistic that we will, in the not too distant future, have an on-bill financing program that will be successful and that will lead to a far more expanded program. And there are grants, there are low interest loans out there that Golden Valley would apply for and then make available to our members. And then we've got levelized cost of power. The one thing that we cannot control is the cost of fuel. And just like all of you, we are subject to the vagaries of the ups and downs of the market. And so what we're trying to do is instead of doing a COPA on a quarterly basis, what we're trying to do is do with COPA over a 10-month period to smooth it out. You're still going to pay the same amount over time, but you're not going to be subject to the huge vacillations. And when I say huge vacillations, about 3-4 COPA periods back, we had a 35% increase followed by a 35% decrease. Those are the vacillations that we're trying to smooth out, because as businesses, businesses in personal finance, you have a hard time, budgeting for something like that. And, you think about it from the perspective of a large operation, Fort Knox, for example. Okay, that 35% swing is huge. All right, so if we can smooth that out, that's we want to be able to do that. That would be the first in the state of Alaska. Okay, we are moving forward. The board's authorized us to move forward. Right now, we're messaging with the businesses to kind of to share with them how this would work. Okay, before we file it, because just like you won't be subject to the big upswings, you won't get the benefit of the downswings, okay, immediately. And so, the messaging is important. No other utility in the state has anything like this. And the reason for that is, South Central has gas. Okay, there's just fairly predictable. Okay, we have all sorts of different generation, mixes. And so, that's why you got the different vacillations or the extreme vacillations that we have here. And so it's not just it's a couple things. It's not just not just the price of fuel. Operations also impact. When Healy 2 is operating smoothly, that's why you got that 35% decrease. It was a combination of significantly lower fuel prices and the operational efficiency is at Healy 2. And as Healy 2 becomes much smoother in operations, I think that'll steady things out. Electric vehicles, as Brian's report indicated, that really is the wave of the future, certainly in the lower 48. Okay, this is, electric vehicles, the load for most utilities is going down. The load will increase significantly as electric vehicles come into the market. In Golden Valley is, right, and I would say we're probably in the middle of the pack at this juncture. We're intending to put an EV charger on our lot, a charging station on our lot this summer. We're working with an entity now to put a charger. I think it's in Glen Allen, so that we can have charging on the Parks Highway. But it's it's Juneau is way ahead of us, but the rest of the rail belt is working collaboratively through an EV working group to figure out and to file an appropriate rate case with the RCA for approval. And I'm hopeful that, electric vehicles will be something that can be embraced very quickly. And then for many of you, you're aware of the fact that we did a request for information for renewable projects. We've had a lot of interest from private entities for wind and for pump hydro, for solar. And so rather than arbitrarily pick one, okay, or do a first come, first serve type of a deal, we've issued an RFI to get information from anybody who's interested in adding renewables into our system and how they would do it. Okay, whether it's a combination of battery, so that it can be more base loaded, or if it's just just renewables that then have to be regulated. We had originally intended to do an RFP, but we felt that the RFI was the appropriate approach to take to just get the information first. And we've had a lot of interest nationally, and not just locally, but nationally. We've had a significant amount of interest from entities who are looking to expand opportunities. So that's exciting. I think, again, that is on our web. So certainly, look at that. It gives you, a lot of information as to what we are looking for, because, it's basically, tabula rasa. I mean, it's all an open sheet. Okay, somebody can come in and whatever project they want to propose, they have to show us how it works, but it's, we're not limited to wind or solar. We've asked for wind or solar, but really it's whatever project can work. But I will tell you that we're not going to sacrifice our twin pillars of safety, three, safety, reliability, or cost. Okay, it's not putting renewables on at any cost. That's not how Golden Valley operates, right? But there's a lot of interest out there, and it's important that Golden Valley evaluate that. So, next slide. Okay, I think this is close to the last one. The priorities for Golden Valley is very active and engaged participation in the rail belt. So rail belt cooperation. The picture is the picture shows the four different electric utility service areas. We are at the top. You can see the broad area that we serve. Then you've got the orange is MEA. Then you've got CEA, and the yellow is Homer Electric. So that's the service. That's what we call the rail belt. That's the rail belt, right? And so our rail belt cooperation, it's not just cooperating amongst the utilities, and that's why the RRC is so important. The Rail Belt Reliability Council is because we have to look at the entirety of the rail belt. Okay, from Homer all the way up to Delta Junction. Okay, we need to, when decisions are made, with the placement of a new generation, how does that impact the rest of the system? And one of the big complaints that that I think has been justly levied is that there was at one time, and many would argue still, an overbuilding of generation within the rail belt. Okay, because everybody was looking at their own independent service areas and just taking care of themselves. And so, that became a bit of the concern. I can tell you that, that things are, that the landscape has changed significantly. The general managers with all the other utilities are very collaborative and very cooperative. We understand the responsibility and the importance of working, together and participating very aggressively and collaboratively on the implementation committee. Because the future lies in working together throughout that whole rail belt, not just in focusing on your own service areas. Wildfire liability, that's something that we are really focused on. House Bill 29 is pending, which will eliminate the issues of, that in California where PG&E ended up in bankruptcy. What this essentially says is that what we can control is our right of way. Okay, we should be responsible for maintaining our right of way. But beyond that, and all of you know, having lived in interior, people are zealously guard their trees. Okay, so if Golden Valley, I can't tell you, the challenge that Golden Valley has. For most of our right of ways are 30 foot, so that's 15 on either side of the center line where the power poles are. That the growth proliferation, vegetative growth in interior Alaska is just, it's been rapid. The problem that we are having is that when you see that the frozen rain or heavy snowfalls, we get what's called the rainbow effect. You get these trees that are way outside the right of way, hanging into the right of way, and that's the danger that we face from a liability perspective. We can clear our right of way, okay, and we have a responsibility to do that. But to the extent that there's a fire or damage that's caused from trees that are outside the right of way, that should not be our liability, because our members already pay high rates. If we have to bear the risk of liability, lawsuits associated with fires or damage caused by trees that are outside the right of way, outside of our ability to control, it just puts a huge burden on utilities. So this is legislation that utilities are very focused on, and essentially, it's very appropriate. I mean, we should be responsible for that which we can control, but that which we cannot control, we should bear no responsibility for. Renewable Energy Fund, Golden Valley is very active in supporting all sorts of energy grants as they do in the lower 48. We should have that same availability up here. And then power cost equalization, we as Interior, there are a lot of communities that served by Tana Chiefs and that are outside our service area, but that don't get the benefit of having the electric support that the road belt or the rail belt has. And so power cost equalization, we understand the importance of that to those communities. And as part of Interior Alaska, we support power cost equalization. And I think it's safe this year, but who knows? At any rate, that's legislation that Golden Valley also supports. So those are the big priorities. These are the strategic directives, and again, you can see the link on the bottom. For more expansive information on what these directives are, I'd urge you to go and look at that link. These are the directives that the Golden Valley Board has set, okay, for this year and the next, and they're not even though they are numbered, they're not in order of priority. All right, these are just 11 that the board has focused on. And you can see generation portfolio, that's a huge legacy decision. Many of these are legacy. Information technology. I mean, it's important that every department, when we talk about the fact it's not our money, it's very important we expect a lot from our employees, but they've got to have the tools so that every department can act, be collaborative, know what's going on, and we're not, replicating processes, each department. So these are, the board is, it's a volunteer board, but I think you ask Gary or any other board member, there's a heck of a lot of time that is spent on board business. It's a very engaged board, and these are the strategic directives that have been set up. So I think that's it. That's Golden Valley, the state of Golden Valley. I'm happy to say that we are doing well. But again, it's we exist for you guys. It's members serving members, and these are these are several of our members. So any questions? I see Lou. Lou, you've got a question?
Please, Director Florence.
So, John, thanks for this. Not a question. I just wanted to make a comment. So I'm pretty recently up here from the lower 48, but I have a lot of years in the electrical generation and distribution business. And I'm not saying this just to butter you up, John, but the GVEA does a remarkable job of providing reliable power over a system of many long lines and rural areas. So the statistics show it, but this is not like the grids down in the lower 48. This is a much more difficult system to keep up and running. And the fact that the lights are on almost all the time is a real testament to the work that your team has done over the years. So it's pretty impressive. I don't know if people are really aware of it. I know that there's a lot of history and I've only just started to learn it, but just from, the very basics of keeping the lights on, I think you guys do a great job.
No, thanks, Lou. Appreciate it. And that is something that we're very proud of. In the electric industry, you try to get at least they call triple nines, 99.9%. We have been historically above the triple nines. There have been times when it gets slightly below. It's a 99.87 or something, but it's generally always over the 99.9. And you're seeing a picture of why. We've got great line crews, and you've probably all seen them. And we talk about information technology, the OM, outage management system. Okay, that was just implemented. No longer do you get the calls that say, well, keep your back porch light on, so we know if there's electricity being, to your residence. I mean, we can deploy crews very efficiently now, and we're always trying to eliminate those long runs that Lou was talking about. Mike Kraft.
Actually, if you don't mind, Mr. Kraft, we did have a question that was in the chat box that preceded even Mr. Florence. If I may just go ahead and ask that. So yes, has the state of Alaska continued to charge a yearly per megawatt flat fee based on each tower at Eva Creek, in addition to the fixed annual state land fee? Are they asking for extra dips?
Yeah, we, that's been a claw. That's been really, the answer is yes. They charge us a wind tax. Okay, not only a land fee, and it's a nominal land fee, but they also charge a wind tax, a fee based on the amount of the nameplate capacity. And we went to the governor's office, went to ADEC trying to get that eliminated, and we can't. I think our total, Gary Newman might know this better than I, but I think the total tax, land and wind tax, is about $75,000, $80,000 annually. So,
thank you. Yes, Mr. Kraft, please.
John, thank you so much. This has been very good. Nice presentation. Thank you. I just have a question about Healy 1, and I was just kind of curious, how do you see the SCR affecting the cost of power off of Healy 1 if you guys go ahead and decide to do that? Do you have any idea where that might land?
I don't know on the numbers specifically, Mike, but obviously the whatever capital is put in, when we talk about the all-in cost, whatever the capital expense is, will be amortized over a period of time, and that capital cost component factors into the all-in cost. So if it's currently $113 a megawatt, it depends on the cost of SCR. And what we are finding, fortunately, is that the price of SCRs has dropped significantly in the past few years. But Mike, that's something that's going to get factored in, because the board has to make that determination. Is what's the overall impact? So you're absolutely right. That's a component in the analysis.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, I wanted to end by thanking, all of you guys, because the people that I see on this call have all been major contributors to to Golden Valley over the years, whether as consultants or as collaborating partners in the partnership that we got, or just very active members. And we could not do our job without the support of all of you. And it's a real, I say this, I'm very privileged to be sitting in this seat. And it really, it's because of the fact that it's a pretty doggone easy job, because it's a fun job, great people, and real good community support. So really appreciate it.
Sir. Mr. President Burns, before you go, Jim Dotson does have a question.
John, out of curiosity on the wind tax, is that charged on the wind at Fire Island, and is it charged on the water out of Bradley Lake? Or obviously not wind tax, but a similar tax.
Yeah, well, the Eva Creek, I do. I'm not Fire Island. I don't know, but the other. That's a good question. But it is charged to other wind farms. One in Kodiak, I believe, pays. Mike, I don't know. Do you pay a wind tax?
No, basically, DNR is doing that on state land only.
Yeah.
If it's private property, they don't have a right to it. So Fire Island, for example, is owned by Surrey. They don't pay any kind of royalty like that, and neither do I. It's fee simple ground. So when my discussions with DNR was that they basically wanted to get a lease agreement and some kind of royalty on the wind. So that's a strictly state operation.
Yeah,
I think it's crazy too, by the way.
Yeah, but it's I mean, it's as you can tell, you can imagine, it's been very frustrating.
That's just part of the philosophy that we're open for business.
Yeah, you got it. At any rate, but we have tried many times. I see Gary. Yeah. I see Gary. You got a comment? You want to add something to the dialogue here?
No, I just when we had looked at wind farms elsewhere in the lower 48, the price we're paying is actually not that out of line when you add it all up, and some do charge based on megawatt. Again, charging for the wind does seem very weird though.
No, it's and Gary's right. I mean, we're not unique in Alaska, and what other states charge is significantly higher. So, we have tried to get it rolled back, and it's not. I don't have the clout. I can tell you that.
If I may, John, I do have one question regarding Bradley Lake, or more specifically, you mentioned Soldotna Courts.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about Bradley Lake Power coming to GVEA, would you consider constrained by the lines?
Yeah. That's what it's a 138 kV. Okay, and so we can get that upscaled significantly and get more power off. There's just so much energy you can get, on the diameter of the wires. And I see Steve Hagginson. Steve was part of AEA and obviously Golden Valley. He may have a lot more firsthand knowledge about all of this. But that was when the Soldotna fire, when the fire occurred 2 summers ago, and we were out for 3 months. You saw that radical impact on Golden Valley's rates, because we were not only unable to get Bradley up, but because the other utilities weren't able to get their share of Bradley, they had no power to sell us. And so we were completely cut off, and our cost of power, I think it went up 35%. And so, it just shows you the vulnerabilities of the system, and those are the concerns that, that the board and staff are constantly evaluating, because you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
So say if we did have the road belt, the eastern extension, in combination with potentially upgraded lines along the rail, or excuse me, yeah, the rail belt, we could get more Bradley Lake power.
Well, it depends on where the connection is, you know, because they're looking at having redundancy out of Bradley as well. You know, they're looking at another southern intertie. There's a lot of variables that are going on. But, you know, from our perspective, we're trying to figure out how to get cheaper power to our members all the time. And, you know, I can just tell you, having that redundancy, you know, would take the risk component out of it, you know, a lot more.
Certainly from a citizen, a resident's perspective, again, the reliability organization and the fact that the utilities are starting to look at themselves more as an integrated or regional utility as opposed to loosely interconnected fiefs is nice.
Absolutely. And it's you know, it's high time we did it. You know, and I have to tell you that, you know, the MEA's Tony Izu, you know, CEA's Lee Thiebert, HEA's Brad Janarski, good, solid individuals who are really focused not just on their own service area, but how do we help one another in maximizing the benefits? Because, you know, that's what the road, you know, the rail belt system's all about. And, you know, it's been really working well. And, you know, the same, having Lou and Mike Kraft and the other participants on the RRC, I think we're going to actually achieve something that's going to be to the benefit of all of, you know, the rail belt members. Okay, one more question. I see we're way over time.
Yes,
Mike.
Mr. Kraft.
Yep, Mike.
Yes, John, thank you. I was just curious what the likelihood might be of Golden Valley being able to expand its service territory down towards Toke, for example, and maybe be able to pick up that mining opportunity that seems to be developing down there. That seems to be a very significant load that could potentially help us. And I'm just curious if you guys are looking at that.
I don't know that we've been approached yet, but certainly it, you know, it comes out all out, you know, economics. I mean, we had you know, that was a dialogue with Fort Knox. You know, when Fort Knox was coming in, you know, how do we get power? And we were able to, you know, do it in a way that did not negatively impact our members. And so, you know, if it makes sense, Golden Valley is always willing to look at it.
All right. Well, President Burns, I just wanted to say thank you very much. Final comment?
No, I just wanted to thank you and skip the president. Okay. I mean, everybody here knows me. So
would you like me to revert to General?
Yeah. No, listen, it's been a real pleasure. And Jomo and Jim, thanks for the opportunity. And you know, thank you to Meadow. Meadow is the one who put all the slides together. She does a great job. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Golden Valley, because as I said, you know, we exist for our members. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Thank you, sir. All right. So I'd like to, yes, thank you, John. Thank you, Meadow. Thank you, everybody, the whole team over at GVEA. Very much appreciate your efforts. Lord knows we benefit so much from your efforts. So a couple of final words for the assemblage, the good of the order. So we do have a presentation lined up for next week. It's actually going to be a Mr. Kerry Williams giving a presentation regarding pumped hydro, which John mentioned just briefly in his presentation. Pumped hydro being that pairing of renewables, be it wind or solar, with pumps to move hydro water around. It's essentially making water the battery storage for renewable power sources. So just know that we do have that lined up for next week. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us as always. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and we will see you next week here at FEDC.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Recording button.